We start with breaking news from Egypt because indirect talks between Israel and Hamas on ending the Gaza war have entered a third day. A senior Hamas official has said negotiators have exchanged lists of Palestinian prisoners and Israeli hostages to be released if the talks succeed. Senior international mediators, including the US envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, have also arrived in Sharm el-Sheikh to join the talks. Let's remind you of what the Trump peace plan entails. It says, if a ceasefire is agreed, Israel will stop all military operations. Hamas will release all living and dead hostages within 72 hours of the ceasefire. Then aid would be able to move freely into Gaza and eventually redevelopment would begin. After 2 years of war in Gaza, the UN estimates more than 90% of homes have been damaged or destroyed, with hundreds of thousands of people displaced. Hamas have been significantly reduced as a fighting force, but not eliminated. Our Gaza correspondent Rushdie Abu-Alouf is following the latest lines.
It is significant. It happened last night after a dispute about the names of the Hamas wanted, because, you know, there is a very high-profile Palestinian leaders, including the leader of the PFLP, Palestinian group, one of the PLO main groups. Also, two main Hamas military commanders who were arrested from the West Bank, and also a very senior Fatah official, Marwan Barghouti, who was arrested about 20 years ago. All of them are serving life sentence in the prison. According to Hamas, they said it's according to the criteria that we agreed on with Israel. But I think the initial list was including these names, and Israel already rejected yesterday. But today is a big day. So it is involving the Qatari Prime Minister, the head of the Turkish intelligence, the head of the Egyptian intelligence, the Steve Witkoff, the special envoy, American envoy, and Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Mr. President of US, Donald Trump. So it is a very, very big names are involving, and the pressure will be high in both sides, because we understand that yesterday there was a dispute over almost everything that was presented in the table, starting from the names of the prisoners and ending by Israel insisting in keeping the map that keeping 55% of Gaza under Israeli security control during the first phase of the ceasefire, and Hamas concerned that Israel would return back to the fighting. As much as pressure these big names can put in both sides, there will be some result. So today is a big day. All eyes on Sharm el-Sheikh. Everybody is watching what's going on there.
Rushdie Abu-Alouf. Well, I've been speaking to the Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council, Jan Egeland, and asked him if he feels optimistic about a peace deal.
Point 7 and 8 of the Trump plan really basically says that the flow of aid and the rehabilitation of services and infrastructure necessary for people to survive should start immediately. We've come with a list of concrete ideas that we've submitted to a number of governments that are involved in all of this, from the Norwegian Refugee Council side, on how the border crossings need to be open, how they need to be monitored, how the Ashdod harbor can be used, how the direct line from Jordan and from Egypt can be used, how we can rotate aid workers, how we can get in the flow of the most necessary aid. All of that has been also submitted. I hope that will be part of what will be agreed today in Cairo, because we have been held out from supplying the starving in Gaza since March. There's only been a few actors that have been allowed to continue their lifelines. We were blocked in March.
You have around 80 staff from your team in Gaza at the moment. What are they telling you about the situation as it is now, and what have you been able to do about it? I know you've written a letter to foreign ministers with a 12-point plan.
Yeah, and that 12-point plan is exactly for how to resume the lifelines to people who are now starving. A famine was declared in northern Gaza. We were witnessing that through our own staff on the ground. This population was then asked to leave again under bombardment from northern Gaza, where most of the people were. It's beyond belief, the desperation, the fatigue, the suffering of people completely innocent of what happened on the 7th of October in Israel. These are families. My staff, many of them are female, mothers of children that they cannot feed anymore, even as aid workers. So the urgency and the gravity of this moment cannot be underestimated.
Jan Egeland of the Norwegian Refugee Council. Well, ahead of the US delegation joining the talks in Sharm el-Sheikh, President Trump said a peace deal in Gaza was very close.
We are very close to making a deal on the Middle East that will bring peace to the Middle East. After all of these years of millions and millions, tens of millions of people being killed, there's a chance to bring peace to the Middle East.
What guarantees are you giving your Arab partners that Israel will not resume its offensive after the hostages are released?
Well, the primary guarantee is once this deal happens, if it does happen, look, they're in negotiations right now, we are going to do everything possible. We have a lot of power, and we're going to do everything possible to make sure everybody adheres to the deal.